Alright guys, so today I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this video from Pat McAfee show. I will have it linked down below the description as always. Shout out to him for posting awesome content. But this is him actually interviewing Adam Schefter, and he's talking about the Joe Burrow hiding his injury storyline, right? If you guys do not know what I'm talking about, a little quick summary is that Joe Burrow, according to sources, and sources meaning an analyst, has a video showing that Joe Burrow got hurt in the Texans game. Obviously, after he got hurt in the Texans game, he arrives in Baltimore wearing a sleeve on his hand, a compression sleeve, which would kind of coincide with the fact he got hurt in the Texans game, and his hand looks like it was hurt in the Texans game. He practiced throughout the week apparently, everything was fine, everything was perfect, but they did not list him on the injury report. Then he goes into this game after wearing a compression sleeve on his hand, and bam, what do you know, he gets hurt, and now he's out for the season, which of course goes against the NFL policy of not reporting players, who are hurt. You have to put a player on the injury report even if there's the smallest injury, mainly because of gambling. That's really what it comes down to, is betting and gambling, right? Fantasy football, DFS, all that kind of stuff. If you don't report these injuries, then, obviously people make bets depending on who's injured and who's not injured. So, that's kind of the summary. The social media team for the Bengals posted the video of him coming off the bus after public backlash because, hey, why is he wearing a sleeve? They delete the video. Zach Taylor goes up on the podium and says, I didn't know he was wearing a sleeve. Clearly it's a lie because he's the head coach. He does know what's going on. And so there's all these, if and buts, all this conversation around it, right? Well, who's the best guy to know how this is going to go is the man right here on the screen, Adam Schefter. So I want to watch this, react to it. I have a link down below in the description as always. I'm going to stop it throughout those and give my thoughts and opinions on things he says.
NFL rules and processes whenever it comes to injuries being reported, department. Ty Schmidt has a question for you.
Yeah, Schefter, we saw Joe Burrow wearing what looked to be like a bowling wrist guard before the Bengals last game, and then, the Bengals quickly, they took that down, or, it got scrubbed from the internet pretty much. He goes and plays, and then non-contact obviously gets lost for the season. Do we have any update on the NFL investigation there? Do you know, was it much worse than anyone anticipated? I assume it had to have been if something like that caused him to be out for the rest of the year. Kind of where do we stand right now with the whole Joe Burrow Bengals situation?
Well, first of all, these things usually take weeks, multiple weeks, not instantaneously. If we go back to earlier this season where the Falcons didn't put Bijan Robinson on the injury report, and all the people who roster him in fantasy football flipped out the next day when he didn't play, and they said he had a headache, and he said he was feeling that way the night before. It didn't show up, and then the next week the Chiefs put Patrick Mahomes on the injury report that Sunday morning. Illness. Just because teams know how important not only all these players are to their teams, their cities, but to the fantasy football and gambling worlds.
Which is truly sad, in all honesty. I mean, we're at a point now where it's these players, honestly, for a lot of people, as he said, mean more to money. It means more to the local governments making money off of these teams and off these players than they actually do as, an icon or a role model or anything like that. Which is a lot of reasons why a lot of players, in all honesty, as we get closer and closer to, betting becoming even more and more bigger than it already is, a lot of these players, they could pretty much become untouchable. So even if they do bad stuff off the field, hey, listen, that guy's making a lot of money for the city. Things are going to start going the opposite way.
And so the Bijan Robinson investigation is still ongoing. With Joe Burrow, what will happen is the league will go back. They'll talk to Bengals officials about why he wasn't on the report, what their explanation was. Joe Burrow said that he was wearing a compression sleeve on his thumb. It had nothing to do with his injury. And yet in the game, he threw a pass early on, went down, and looked like he was in great pain or discomfort. Now, it's possible he took a hit in the game that contributed to that. But what the league can do is it can just go request the videos of those practices. Was he a full participant? Did he have any sort of limitations? The practices are on video. They're there.
Yeah, and that's honestly what really will tell the story Obviously we can speculate back and forth on whether or not, he's, was he actually hurt? Well, he's not hurt, but you're seeing the processes. Is he running all the team drills? Is he running at full speed? If in any way, if he's limited in those team practices, they're done. They're done. Like, there's nothing they're going to be able to do. And even if it's like, well, let's say he ran every drill throughout the week perfect, right? But there was like 1 or 2 drills that he just wasn't giving it his all. And maybe it's nothing to do with the fact that, like, he's actually hurt. Just the fact that maybe, it's a short week and, he's really like gassed from the other games. He is kind of like tired. Oh no, they're done. Because the NFL is looking for any reason possible here to penalize the Bengals. Now, I don't think that's really them coming at us like, they hate us, because they do, but I don't think that is the aspect I would go with here. I think this is just because the NFL here is going to try to make an example out of us. And what really sucks here, right, is obviously Bijan Robinson, they didn't put him on the injury report. He was sick, right? And it is what it is there, right? It really didn't impact him when it came to, like, not playing the game. He still played the game. He was just limited snaps. Joe Burrow literally left this game. He was out of the game. He never came back in, right? So he is the strict reason, no matter what way you look at it, to why the Bengals lost this game was because Joe was not in the game. And my scary fact is, right, and as like Adam Schefter is saying here, they're going to pull all the tape and stuff like that, is I think they're going to try to make an example out of us, right? They're going to try to say, hey, moving forward, we're going to make an example out of the Bengals to show teams moving forward that they can't do this, right? This is never going to happen again. That's what scares the crap out of me about the Bengals and about the NFL here is I think they're going to look for any way possible to give us the largest fine, the worst everything, because they want to prove a point and set a statement that this will not happen moving forward.
To see, the league will, I would imagine, request the footage of those practices and get an idea of whether he was or wasn't hurt. Joe Burrow says it was a compression sleep. Okay, fine. Let's see what those show. And then you do these interviews and make a determination about whether or not there was a fine. Now, the last time there was a team that received a major fine for violating the injury report was back in, I think it was 2019. The league fined Mike Tomlin $25,000 and the Steelers $75,000 because they violated the injury report, didn't put Ben Roethlisberger down. That was 4 years ago.
Well, of
that
course,
was pre-gambling policies.
Of course, Pittsburgh.
If there were a team, the Falcons, the Bengals, anybody else that was found in violation, I think that those penalties would be made to seem small compared to what the league would issue today. But let's see what turns up. The Bengals say they did nothing wrong, and there are other people who believe they did. And sort of up to the league to determine what's right and wrong.
The videos of practice, how long has that been happening? Because we learned about it during COVID, I think, right? Yeah. They were pulling them during COVID to see who was near who was doing what. That's when we as a public started knowing that. I don't think I knew about this whenever I was playing in the league, that all the practices are being recorded and the NFL can just kind of pull that.
Pat, practices, meetings, everything is recorded. Everything.
No.
I'm actually surprised Pat doesn't know that. And I'm not trying to say I'm no more than Pat. I do not. He's an NFL player. I am just a, couch quarterback here. But based on what I assumed, and again, I didn't know, but I assumed that everything's recorded. And that's mainly for, kind of to cover the team's butt, let's be honest, Because if someone said they did something, someone claimed that, he did this, he said this, this happened, the NFL team, they don't want to get sued, right? They don't want to get sued. So other than obviously the showers or the locker room, everything else has to be recorded. It's really just to cover their own butts. That's pretty much what it is. Let's say a player claims they slipped and fell, this happened, or a player punched here. At the end of the day, you get away from the he said, she said crap. Have a video of it. So I'm actually very surprised that Pat didn't realize that. So I think that, everything's recorded, man. It's like even nowadays, but even going back forever. I mean, the NFL, they are one of those organizations where they love money and they don't want any chance to lose money. So everything is recorded, especially I would assume phone calls interviews, because not only is it recorded for the obvious reasons of, like, player safety and, like, to not get sued, but it's also about, like, seeing how players interact with one another, how personnel, staff, coaches, let's say a player comes up and says, hey, that staff member called me a blank. Well, it's a he said, she said. Well, no, pull the phone call up, pull the recording, and let's see what, was actually said. And you can pull it up and you can see within seconds who actually said what, and then you can discipline it in the correct orientation. So I'm actually surprised he didn't realize that, yeah, everything, especially in businesses, everything is recorded. I did go to college, I minored in business, and that's the one thing they taught us in business class, was Business 101. They said everything is recorded, period.
Not meetings.
Meetings are recorded.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Invasion of privacy.
Man, what have I said about who? Oh.
Players only meetings
are recorded.
Players only meetings getting. That ain't players
No.
only.
No.
Boys, stop with the players only meeting.
Breaking.
Go to a restaurant. They're just listening in the other room. Listen to this.
I've
son of a
got
bitch.
footage
Whoa.
of Darius's meetings that he wouldn't believe right now.
What?
Whoa.
There's some sort of HIPAA violation in there.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, he was
They
good in
told,
those
me, they
meetings.
told me what you see here and
Say
stays here.
Hear, see, and say here stays here. That's a lie.
Bold
There's
face.
somebody seeing everything we do.
Wow.
You ain't here. Holy
I'm not
hell.
telling you every meeting's being recorded, but when they're in the big auditorium,
Well,
What about in
Big
the equipment
auditorium?
room? I like to vent down there in the equipment room. You think they definitely got mics in there. You talk to some guys and they just point up to the sky.
careful.
Who is it? You're an asshole. You know what I mean? That's amazing. That's good to hear, because that's an easy thing to figure out then with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
You'll be easy to see.
They're all walkthroughs though in the short week, Thursday night football.
Oh,
So the team kind of has to say, like, okay, if it was a real practice, would he be limited? Would he be full? Would he be whatever?
Well, then they can just look at like what last week was or the week before. They can really do full.
Yeah, he got hurt the Sunday before the Thursday night football game, right?
well, Chris Long put out that video that day.
He hit that
Said he was
helmet.
hurt in the second play. He's grabbing his thumb, and I think that's where some of these questions came from, right?
Oh, Chris.
That he put out this video saying, "Oh, look, Joe Burrow's hurt," and then all of a sudden he gets off the plane with that thing on his thumb, and it's not there anymore. The video, they take it down, and then he goes into the game. So again, that's where some of the suspicions and questions are coming from, and that's up to the league to look into and figure out what's
and
right
they
or
will.
not.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they
Oh,
will.
yeah.
They'll look into it.
And like I said, I think they're going to try to set an example with us, because they don't want this moving forward to ever happen again, right? They're going to try to say, hey, listen, we're going to throw the book at the Bengals, not only because they hate us, but because they're going to try to make sure this never happens again, ever in history. And I get it. Like, again, once you get into more of the gambling laws, the betting rules, I cannot help out my man Adam here. Every time I pause it, it's worse and worse on his face. But yeah, so they're going to try to help it out, obviously not just for the NFL purposes, for the betting too, right? All that kind of stuff. Now, Chris Long, him pointing out the fact that Joe obviously had a thumb thing before that is going to factor into this. But I think what really is going to factor into this, right, is once they look at the practice tape, obviously that's going to tell the full story, right? That's his period. But it's the lying. It's the lying of Zach Taylor saying he didn't know that, about the what's called compression sleeve. That's going to be the real problem there. It's going to be the Bengals Twitter deleting the tweet that had the evidence in there, right? Like, it's just so many red flags that we're really going to get destroyed based on all that, based on the red flags. The red flags, and then they're going to try to look at the evidence, and they're not going to give us the benefit of the doubt. It's what I'm trying to say here, okay? Any little chance they can to stone us for this, they're going to stone us to the wall within seconds. So, all I care about here is that we don't lose a draft pick. And I don't think we will lose a draft pick. I mean, it's potentially we could. And if they really wanted to, stone us here and make an example out of us, they would take away a draft pick. They would probably take away maybe like a third, fourth round pick, and that would be that. Now, keep in mind, we get a third round pick for free for losing Jesse Bates. So we would just be losing the pick we got for Jesse Bates. We wouldn't really be losing a current draft pick we have, but we would be losing the Jesse Bates draft pick. which, sucks because that's an extra third-round pick we would have. So it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's a mess, right? It's a mess. And we're going to have to wait, as Schefter said here, a couple weeks to see where the NFL feels like they want to head with this direction. And I think with everything being said and the Bengals season kind of being over in the aspect of Joe Burrow part, obviously our season's not over in the aspect of, our backup, Jake Browning, they're going to try to stone us bad with this. So I hope it's just fine. And that's it. I mean, I don't think they're going to suspend Zach Taylor. It's possible if they think that he did lie in the aspect of knowing and didn't say, they could suspend him for that. There could be other suspensions for the social media team who runs the Twitter page. Maybe they suspend one of those guys because they say, hey, you deleted the evidence. I don't know. At the end of the day, like I said before, Schefter knows best. And as Schefter said here, it's going to be, really up to the discretion of the NFL and what way they want to take this. I'm just kind of getting scared that this is going to be more of a directly, kind of F them route and go with that route. And I hope at the end of the day, if the processes are all good and clean and Joe was truly processing good, we should be okay. That's what I will say. We should be okay. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next one. Peace.